Hey, it's the Advocate, and today I'm privileged and honored to be able to have a conversation with a longtime friend and brother of mine from Long Island, and he was my college roommate at a HBCU, Oakwood University, and we were just chatting about how me, him, and Jason Brown were the only three guys from Long Island that was accepted, in the boroughs, Queens, Brooklyn, the Bronx, and we ran in a lot of different circles that we was never local,
Word.
So I'm definitely privileged to have my brother on the CJ Cares podcast today. I'm so proud of him and the man that he is today, and I'm glad that he's supporting his brother today. So how you doing, Dr. Phil?
Yo, I'm good, man. I'm good, bro. Yo, we go too far back. Too far
Definitely.
back, bro. It's good to
Yeah,
be
so
here.
we had interesting fact. I was your hype man, in the early days. So
Yeah.
this is like, before we jump into everything, I always wanted to ask you, how did you feel about not signing a hip hop contract to rap for a living?
Yo, I still think about it till today, man. It's like, what would have been like, especially we were at the Wendy Williams birthday party, right? At the Lions Club. And it was you, it was Ike, it was a few others that Ike was the DJ. He's from Long Island, and I had a performance opportunity that day. And what was crazy is that it was a Saturday afternoon, and for me, I didn't perform on Saturdays or Friday nights. But this one, I was like, okay, we could do the sound check Saturday afternoon, wait till sunset, and then the show starts. But they were still building the stage. The stuff wasn't even prepared, so I could have come later on and just gotten in. But what we learned from that lesson is that things didn't work out, and there was a fight between Adolf and I guess Sticky Fingers. There was some beef with the Lost Boys with security, and the show never continued. They put on the professionals. The MC had beef with the manager of the club, so we never got our shot because I was the amateur performer, but hoping to generate some interest, and it just never happened. So I always wonder, like, what would have happened if I had been able to go on stage and you were ready to hype it up and do all of that. But at the end of the day, I had one conversation with Phife Dawg from A Tribe Called Quest, right? Had one conversation, and I went to his crib on 192, right? Just because I knew where he lived. I just randomly would go there. And one day he took me upstairs and was like, yo, listen, man, I know it's cool. You want to get into hip hop, you want to rap and all of that, but there's a lot of stuff that you don't know about the things that happen behind the scenes, right? So, he just poured into me that day. He didn't say don't do it. He just said, be careful as you try to get into this industry. He was telling me what he knew was real. You're looking at a person who was on a triple platinum type album, right? But they weren't making triple platinum type money, right? Because of the industry. So, me going in green, what would have happened also with my contract? If I did sign a contract, what kind of contract would it be? Would I have even made it off the shelf? Would I have even created a video? You know what I'm saying? I could have been that kid that, you signed that contract, but you didn't do much with it. So, and there's so many stories like that. So, I'm grateful for the path that God gave me.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned Fife. You remember the early days at Linden, grade school, SDA church.
Yeah.
Q-Tip's mom was my third grade teacher,
Wow.
Mrs. Davis, and I used to cut to go and see and play with John Pierre Lewis, the Perry Lewis family, and I used
Yeah.
to see Malik and John. They was rapping from back then, you know. I think they was like in the 8th grade at that point,
Right.
you know. And then I'm familiar with Fife, you know, him being Trinidadian as well. So,
Right.
people knew him, and you know, he always came around and showed love. That's what I remember most about him. So definitely rest in peace to Fife.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody in Tribe, you know, they definitely showed love. You know, like they didn't get big-headed and turn their backs on who they knew.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
they're still friends with a lot of us from back in the day. So,
True.
you know, we definitely saw hip hop through different eyes. You know, thanks to them. You know,
Right. And I'll give you a fun fact. It was at Linden. I was in 7th grade, and Fife used to come around. Now, this is pre-Tribe Called Quest. He's come around because his cousin PJ used to go there and everything. So he played ball with us, basketball, baseball, talk to us, chill with us. I'm like, I have never seen it, you know, a grown teenager, you know, hang around at elementary school so much, right? So he was just always there. And then one day he comes to school in a suit. Like, yo, what you doing in a suit, Malik? You know, it's like, yo, man, yeah, me and John just started a group and we're going to sign the contract today. I was like, real? For real? Yo, what's the name of the group? He's like, A Tribe Called Quest. I was like, yo. So that was the first, I saw him the day he was going to sign the contract. So that was a crazy, like, historical fact. I'll never forget that day.
Yeah, that's dope, bro. So I wanted to ask you too. I want to get into your educational background. Talk about some of the degrees you have, and you know, what field or profession you're in, and what are you doing?
Yeah. So you know, well, let me say this for the young people. Before I reached 8th grade, I had already been to like 5 different schools. You know, well, by the time I reached, it was my 5th school in 8th grade. And so by the time I finished all my education, I had attended about 12 different schools. 12 different schools. That goes from high school to undergrad, where I started at Oakwood with you, right? We both transferred over to Atlantic Union College. And while I was there, I studied communication and religion. I studied communication first because that's where I wanted to go into, broadcasting and journalism. And then I ended up going into ministry, so I studied religion. After I left AUC, went to Andrews University, Barron Springs, Michigan, and got my Master's of Divinity. You know, used that for a while, you know, became minister for the last 20, now going on 22 years. And I went back in 2016, 17 for my PhD. So I started with my PhD and finished in 2019. So I have my PhD in business administration.
Also, you mentioned that you are an educational consultant, correct?
Yeah. So with that, really just started to pour into education. My mother's been an educator, you know, for many years. And I taught like PE for like 2 years on the side, just like, okay, working with these kids twice a week and, you know, trying to mentor them, trying to get them in shape. So education has always been a part of my experience. And so, you know, after some years in ministry, you know, I had moved to Maryland area, but my boss was like, well, we don't really want you traveling back and forth to Rhode Island. You know, we want to get you closer to your family. So they created a space for me in education. And so I served as a superintendent for assistant superintendent for 16 different schools. 16 different schools. I was assistant superintendent, so I attended all the education meetings. I got my education, what do they call it? Instructional education module. I finished that, you know, module 1. Didn't get to finish the whole thing, but really became a passion for education. So we started Dr. Phil 2, Shaping a New Start. And it's all about helping students, teachers, parents create a new purpose in their life, shape a new start, shape a new pathway for them to move in the future and not be stuck in the past. So
what do you, as a pastor, right, and also as a fellow human being, what does spirituality mean to you?
Yeah, spirituality means an experience with God, right? And it's an experience with God. It's the ups, it's the downs, right? It's knowing there's boundaries, being accountable to God. And it doesn't mean being perfect, but spiritually, it's like, hey, listen, I need to tap into God every day. I need to talk to him because I'm feeling weak. I'm not feeling strong like I should be. I'm not feeling to my optimum health like I should be. So I need to have this conversation with God. And spiritually, we connect with God on another level. We're humans, we're going to fall, we're going to mess up. But, knowing that God is there, knowing that, hey, we can talk to him in that time of need is that connection, being consistent with God and getting back up and going back with him and talking with him and reading and really just kind of pouring the word into our souls, pouring the word into our minds. It's not okay, I just did a scripture today, I'm good. It's like, how can I get more of the word? How can I get more of an experience with God? And that spirit, it's not something, okay, now I go to church, now, I listen to a sermon, I'm spiritual. The word of God kind of simmers through all through the day. Hey, I'm about to reply to somebody. What does the word say? I'm about to respond to some toxic stuff. And so what does the word say? I'm about to get into a bad situation and I know that God is speaking me out of it. So how does he help curb a lot of situations I'm about to get into? So that's what being spiritual is.
Do you believe in giving people second chances? And why would you say yes or no?
Yeah, the Bible is very clear on second chances. And I give you a case in point of Manasseh. A lot of people don't talk about Manasseh. Manasseh was a bad boy. And I got a message called Bad Boys Do Change, right? Manasseh was just insane, right? He's the one that killed the prophet Isaiah. Like, how do you survive and you kill the prophet Isaiah? And, he was the son of a king, Hezekiah. He was actually born in Hezekiah's extra 15 years that God gave him. And he caused terror. He caused the nations to worship idols. He put his children through the fire, sacrificed his children. He did idol worship and just murdered innocent people. So, he was just a sick individual for a long time. And, until God was like, okay, enough. And God had the Babylonian army come in and actually take him and put him in bondage. And while he was in bondage, he has a conversation with God. And he says, all right, God, my bad. I don't know what happened, but please save me. Please restore me. Whatever he said in that prayer, because the prayer is not necessarily recorded. Whatever he said in that prayer, he was restored back to his kingdom. He was restored back to the throne. And when he was restored, he went back and changed all the things that he had done. So he had taken out idol worship out of the nation. He had, now again, once you plant that seed, it's hard to uproot, the things that grow from it. But he did his best to make do of his second chance. So I believe God believes in second chance. He's given me a second chance. And that is really why Dr. Phil 2 brand is what it is. Shaping your new start. Shaping your new start is not there unless I believe that God gives second chances. And sometimes you have to get up and believe that I'm going to have a new start today.
That's awesome. I just wanted to segue right quick. I wanted to thank you for something. You eulogized my son, and my son passed away. And my first podcast for my season 3 was about me explaining about what actually happened to him, you know.
Yeah.
And you were there for me. And fun fact is that when we were going through the funeral, the memorial service, it was like a couple of pastors up there. I was like, wait, hold on. I hope they know it's Phil. The one I asked, it wasn't.
Oh man.
But I could understand the context. People were, emotional about a child losing his life, and but your words helped me tremendously. It hit home, and like you was the only one that I wanted. Like the first person I thought of, I was like, yo, Phil got to do this for me. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I just want to thank you on behalf of my family for, tending to us spiritually at that time, because, it's been a rough road. My family's still suffering. We wouldn't, like, certain family members of mine, you would never know how hard they suffer, but in private, it is not a day or moment that goes by where, they don't think about CJ and, what he meant to our family. So thank you very much for being there for us.
For sure, man. Anytime, man. I mean, I couldn't think of it any other way. I remember seeing CJ, we in church and he's sitting there and, playing around, making sure he know Uncle Phil is in the house. And, just for Tony to call me with the tragedy was just like, yo, I can't imagine. I can't imagine till today what it feels like. I can't imagine. And, this is 4 kids later, you know what I mean? I can't imagine. And so, my prayers are always with you, bro. This is you've become a strong force because of it. And God has used you to help so many other people. So, just stay on that path.
Thank you. And, speaking about paths, I also was a groomsman in your wedding, and we had a good time in Mexico. And, I got to meet your lovely wife, and, you guys look wonderful together. I have to admit, I like to see the synergy that you and your wife have. You do multiple projects together and things of that nature. Yeah. So to see where you started from, knowing you before you were married to where you are now, it looks good on you, bro.
Thank you,
I just wanted to ask you, could you name 3 things that you and your wife appear to have in common?
Yeah. But before that, you were the one that did my haircut for my wedding, and it came out sharp. Like, dude, like if I could have just carried you around everywhere I went, it would have been done. You know what I'm saying? But three things we have in common. We both have an entrepreneurial spirit. We believe in what more can we do? What more can we invest in? What more can we do? So she wrote a book called We Need More Clouds, based on blended families. So, we have that in common. I started Shaping Your New Start, wrote an ebook called 6 Ways to Shape Your New Start. So that's one. The other thing, we both gone through a divorce, so we understand what it is, that tragedy, that feeling, and how to, bounce back after grief, how to bounce back after a divorce. We're both co-parenting. That's the third one. We both share in co-parenting and helping, with each other's situation, and we take it from there. But I'll say another thing, that we love to do is just, we love to travel. And, there's sometimes we can't travel when we want to, but there are times that we do, and we make the best of it. So we like being in warm places. We like being in places where you can see your feet under the water, not like Jones Beach, but we we like to be in those spaces. So it's easy for me to be like, all right, hey, you want to go here, you want to get in the car and go, you want to get on a plane and go. It's very easy. That's very easy for both of us to do.
Quick question about that too. Do you feel that when you were looking to become remarried, that you were looking for something different this time around, like in terms of similarities to your spouse, or if she was different, would that have mattered?
Yeah, so I did, by nature, I think I kind of went back to the same vibe I had before, just by nature, but I was also trying to think different. How could I be different? And some things didn't work out that I wanted to work out. You were there with me in the journey, and but she was different. She was different, and there was something that was in common for both of us, and it was something that was peaceful. It was something that was, what I needed for that time and still need today. So, that's how we've been able to be successful.
I know that you're a huge family man. I know you love your mother, your father, your sister,
Yeah.
your children. What in your life are you most grateful for?
I listen, I'm just grateful every day that God gives me breath, right? Gives me breath to do what I love to do, to make impact in people's life, right? If I can get on and do a podcast, if I can make a video that's going to empower somebody's life, that's what I like to do. So, I thank God. I'm grateful. As many of our peers are dropping, every day that I have breath in my body, I'm grateful for it. So I try to make the best of every day and see what I can do that's productive, see what I can do that is influential. Because, listen, I'm not promised tomorrow. I'm just not. It doesn't matter how healthy I feel today. How many times have we said, man, I just saw that person. They were just doing this, da, 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 da. Doesn't matter. I'm not promised tomorrow. And so, today's my new start. Today's a new beginning. And I thank God for that. I thank God for family and, the support system I have. Like, without my support system, I'm not going to make it too far. So I've got you, I've got Tone, I've got my family, and so many others around, right? I got my man Hands. I got my man Rich, pretty much everybody that was, at the wedding, right? They are my support system. And, it was just great to have, people's like Amal and Kamon being my business coach. It's just like, things of just, having my wife, in my corner, my mother, my sister in my corner. It's just a phenomenal thing. I've had a person like my friend Paula who would, inspire me to start my business and go in the right direction. So, just so many others, hard to name them all, but I've got a great support system.
We're from Long Island, and, like you stated, we came up together as adolescents. If you could change anything about how we were raised, what would it be?
Yeah, I thought about that. The only thing I would want to add to being raised is, business development, financial development. I wish I knew more things at a younger age. Now we were entrepreneurs as a teenager. We were selling slow jam tapes in school, right? We were making records and we were trying to get on stage. We had that spirit, but that know-how, I would have liked to have a little bit more know-how growing up. And, now it's my opportunity to share that know-how with my children. So now I have to pass down what I know. And I think they've been doing a great job.
And, I know the household you come from, your Pastor Wesley and your mom, they raised you guys in a loving home. I remember coming to your house and coming to get breakfast, and your mom's always cooked for us when we were over there. And I know you were very close to both of your parents, and you came from a 2-parent household.
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn from your parents' relationship?
Listen, they stuck things out. You know, they were supportive. They were there for each other, and I learned a lot how to be a caretaker. You know, how to take care of business, how to be, um, on guard, as well as how to really think for myself. So there's a lot of great things I learned from them. How to teach, how to impact others, how to be friendly, how to be kind, how to have hospitality. And it's something that has stuck with me.
Now, as I mentioned, you are married and you are developing as a father and a husband. What is some things that you learned about yourself now in your marriage that you didn't know about yourself before?
Yeah, just knowing, growing kind of through marriage and the pandemic. I knew I learned I had more gifts than I thought I had. I learned that I had more about me to make impact for people than I knew before. So just growing and understanding, what to do now that I didn't know before. And I start to learn, hey, you know what? I'm cool by myself, and I've learned that I'm all right. I can keep myself busy by myself and relax by myself, right? So I don't like necessarily being by myself either. So it's not a thing where I'm looking, my me time, my alone time. I'm not always looking for that. I like having my family around and things like that. But I've learned I can also deal with that as well.
How important is trust in the relationship?
Big time. Big time. If you don't have trust, you don't have a relationship. And it's even hard to exist in a relationship where you're not trusting your partner, or you're not building that trust or allowing that trust to build, even through some of the pitfalls. Don't have a relationship if you're just constantly wondering what that person's doing, or if that person's trying to mess you over, or if that person is trying. It's hard. And I'm not saying that it's everybody's perfect with it, but it's really hard to experience a true relationship if you're not trusting. And I write that in my book called Lessons for the Journey that I co-authored. I talked about trust again. How do you get back up and trust again when other people have screwed you over, and when other people have, done wrong towards you? How do you just have to learn how to get back up and trust again.
What is an example of getting up and trusting again? Now, what does that look like in real time?
Yeah, I mean, what it looks like is like, you're going to see something come that looks familiar, that feels familiar, and it's going to make your blood boil, or it's going to make your anxiety rise because you feel like it's the same scenario happening again. But how you do it, it's all about how to learn how to process thoughts, how to process your actions. Okay, you know what? Before I would have reacted like this, but now I'm choosing to react like that. I'm choosing to be a little bit more calm. I'm choosing to investigate a little bit more before I jump to conclusions. I'm willing to hear from the other side, and I'm willing to dial back a little bit and to have more understanding. And that's how you take some action steps to trusting again. It's about a choice. It's not necessarily about how you feel. You could still feel the same distrust. You could feel like something's wrong here, but you might choose to go about it differently and express yourself differently. And I'll tell you, through the process, I've learned how to express myself differently. I haven't been perfect, still working on it, but I've learned how to at least say how I feel about certain things, what I believe, and maybe I could be wrong, but I'm still going to express myself.
What do you feel may be the most challenging aspect of a relationship?
Most challenging is that, adjusting and collaborating. And you might have some things in common, but there's some things that you don't. And that adjustment is going to take some time. That adjustment to how they do things and you do things, and how to kind of come to a compromise. I think the challenging thing is when there is no compromise. When there is no pull back or give back, or where it's just if it's one-sided. If it's one person dialing back, but the other person not learning to do that. If one person is constantly giving, but the other person is always guarded and not giving, and choosing to build walls. And if another person is choosing to build walls and the other person is trying to break through those walls, after a while, you just get tired. You get tired of trying to make things work that another is not trying to make work. So those challenges come, and two people, it takes two to make a thing go right. It takes two to communicate. It takes two to understand each other. It takes two to come together and say, you know what, I didn't like this, but I do understand what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? I do get it. But the challenge comes if one person's building a wall and another person's giving them reason to build a wall too. But two people have to be intentional about their relationship and about the movement of where they're going. Otherwise, it's just not going to work.
With that being said, too, to throw this question to you, divorce rates are out of this world. They're over 75% for first marriages, 60% for second marriages. The divorce rates are high in the United States.
Yep.
And we both have daughters. Naya's 24. And you have daughters is right there too, right? And they're gonna be looking for spouses and partners, right? And what do you say to young people now who are looking to find a mate?
Yeah, take your time. There's no rush. There's no American dream. You know what I mean? There's the dream that God has for you. There's the purpose that God has for you. There's no set time that you should be married. There's no set time where you should have this job. There's no set time that you should be established here. Take your time in establishing a relationship. Establish you first. If you're establishing you and you're getting to understand you, then you don't have to rush into a relationship with somebody else that doesn't know themselves. And you don't know yourself. How are you going to get to know somebody else and you don't even know who you are? And not saying take all the time in the world, but take some time to reevaluate, to vet the other person, vet who they are. Who are they in time of conflict? Who are they in the good and the bad times? Who are they? Who is this person that you're going to roll with for the rest of your life? Can they rock with you through the hard times? Can they rock with you when they don't understand you? Can they rock with you when they don't have a clue what to say to you? Can they be there with you? And will they stand for you or against you? A lot of people get in relationships and then all of a sudden they become competition with each other. They start competing with each other. Who can do this better? Instead, like the two of you become one. If you fail, I fail. If you succeed, then I should succeed. It shouldn't be like you succeeding and I'm still over here struggling. Like that's just not a healthy relationship. And so you too busy competing and trying to figure out how you can outdo your spouse and this and that. That's not a partnership. Partnership is like, hey, listen, I'm your partner. Let's go at it. That's what can I do to help? What can I do to push your thing far so you can succeed? But if in your spirit you are constantly getting into a relationship so you can outdo somebody, you might as well take your time by yourself. Take your time by yourself. So there's no rush. To be in a relationship or be married. But when you're ready, and you're not going to be ready for everything. So understand that too. You know, some people don't make a move because they always want to be ready. Ready for what? I mean, you're not going to be ready for everything. But if you have a good, solid foundation with yourself, you know who you are, you know what you want, you're confident in yourself. Listen, if you're looking for a spouse, be confident in yourself first. Don't try to have that person try to be confident in you. Be confident in yourself so that person doesn't have to play a bunch of games to make you feel good about who you are. You know, be the best you can be every day, and then you'll see some success there.
Is education as important today as it when we were coming up?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, they've shifted the rules now, but it's important. You know, I'm working with somebody that, you know, teaches people how to get their PhDs and things like that. And, you know, it's just amazing that we've got to get the paper, not because we're trying to have a name or have a title, but the reality is we want to hit a demographic that wasn't there before. We have people who paved the way, but why not keep rising up and get our PhD? Why not keep rising up and get our masters? Why not keep recruiting men to be teachers, right? Because we have a low percentage of men being teachers. And so we have that. Entrepreneurship is great. You know, we love people to start their business, but we do need, you know, especially in the black race, we need more blacks having PhDs. We need them having more degrees, and hit that number. And, you know, we're not guaranteeing all will be well. We're not guaranteeing everybody will have a job, but you will see that sense of purpose grow, and you will see that respect grow. You know, it's something. Yeah. But you have to do for yourself what you need to do for yourself at the end of the day.
What are your thoughts about Christian education not putting a stronger emphasis on financial literacy?
Man, listen, I think all education needs more emphasis on financial literacy. Like I said before, if I could have changed anything, and not just by my parents, but also by my school, if I could have changed anything growing up, it would have been financial literacy. It would have been a lot more emphasis on not just, you know, we learned how to save, but we didn't learn how to invest. We keep hearing the save your money, but we didn't learn how to invest your money. So I saved when I was 10 years old. I remember I had like $123 in my lock, you know, my lock box, right? And I remember we had a party and some kid found it, broke into it, broke it open, and stole my money, right? And I have a feeling who it was, but I don't know. You know what I mean? God bless that person years later. But I learned how to save. I saved so much. I always learned how to save my money. But I had to learn later how to invest my money, right? So very important for our schools to teach, you know, different aspects of financial literacy. Not just about avoid credit cards, not just about don't spend if you don't have. I think it goes just way beyond that. You know, how to be aggressive, how to be, you know, sometimes you can be aggressive and safe at the same time. But all those ins and outs that we need to know, I think it's important.
And what other challenges do you see in the educational system today?
You know, just that excitement, marketing and promoting, and you know, I don't see it high on the priority list from the top organization down. I just don't see it as a priority. If it was a priority, we'd have a lot more town halls. We'd have a lot more fundraising. We'd have a lot more engagement in the conversation. But you know, we make it a priority for a minute and then it goes away. Poof, it's gone. All right, you know, operate on your own. You know, we need philanthropists. engaging in them to donate and give back. We've had some schools that have done well, but I'm saying as a whole scale, from the top to bottom, it needs to be something that is infused in the culture of people, to say, hey, you know what, Christian education matters, and this is how we're going to make it matter every day. This is what we're going to invest in our children every day. This is how we're going to sow into them every day. And it needs to be with intentionality, on a broader basis, a bigger basis, and we'll see a difference.
Phil, in your life today, as a pastor, entrepreneur, husband, as a man, what is some of your biggest challenges now, and how are you handling them?
Biggest challenges now is just balance, just making sure I have the right balance between work, family, and have an understanding of who I am, what I do, making sure my health is straight. Like I said, every day I'm looking around, somebody my age or just a little bit older is getting sick or dropping. So just making the best of my days, reading more, picking up a book, right, and just just reading more, pouring into myself, and as much as my mind can take, and sometimes the challenge is kind of binging on stuff that's not helping, that's not helping my growth, binging. And sometimes I need that relaxation, relief, but there are times where I just need to pour into myself, keep reading, keep obtaining knowledge, and being able to walk in that pathway.
And what is an important lesson that you have learned over the years?
Be consistent in whatever you do. The minute you stop being consistent, it's hard to get back up. Be consistent. Be consistent in your attitude. Be consistent towards others, because at the end of the day, people will not remember what you said, but they'll remember how they felt in your presence, right? As that quote is said. But the more consistent you become at being great, at learning, at preparing, at producing, the better you get through time. And you'll find that people that did not have as much skill or talent as somebody else will go further because they were consistent than somebody else. They got up in the morning consistently and went on the grind. They read more. They did more. They connected with more. And they may not have more, but they did more. And at the end of the day, that consistency paid off. And, if you can get up in the morning, if you can sacrifice some sleep, if you can say, hey, listen, you know what? I got to get this done before I go. You're going to find some great things happening in your life.
Now, you had mentioned pouring into yourself and adding knowledge, what goes in comes out. What are 3 books that you're reading and you would recommend, and why?
Yeah, so I'm reading this book called Traction by Gino Wickman. It's talking about systems and how to improve on systems. If you don't have a system, you really don't have a thriving business. So it talks about systems. Another book is IOU by E.T. Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher. That's definitely a book you want in your library. Very practical, very influential. Man, I'm reading so many other books right now. What is the last one I was reading? I read assortment, even one on prayer. This book here is called Lord Teach Us to Pray. That's by Dr. Gideon Andrew Thompson. And actually, I review books for Message Magazine. I have a column there called Elevation Media That Takes You Higher. So I have to kind of know what's out there, know what this book says. I'm reading this other book called The Pill Method by Don Daniel, right? We're talking about how to escape debt, how to pay more on your mortgage and get out of your mortgage debt a lot faster. So yeah, there's several books out there. And then, I'm currently writing a book as well. So trying to, thrive more on writing and getting that accomplished.
And what are the books that your wife wrote in the book that you wrote or previously? What are their names and titles?
Okay, so it's We Need More Clouds. We Need More Clouds by Lynette Wesley. And you can find that on Amazon. We Need More Clouds. It's a book on blended families, a children's book on blended families. And I wrote 6 Ways to Shape Your New Start. 6 Ways to Shape Your New Start. drphil2.com/ebook. That is a free download. You can download that book for free and you can have it. And then I co-wrote a book called Lessons for the Journey. And that is with myself, Kimon Hines, and Paula Blackwell.
Now, Phil, I know you are an avid Mets fan, and you have a strong love for baseball. Why don't you talk about where that came from and where you are today with it, and how it aligns with your life?
Yeah, if you look back on my shelf, there's a lot of baseball, pitches, but there's a lot of baseball memorabilia back there. But no, I love sports. I love, baseball is my favorite. The Mets are my absolute favorite team. So above anything else, no matter what's going on in the world, if the Mets are playing, that's what I'm watching. And, second comes the Giants. If the Giants are playing, that's all I'm watching. After that is the Knicks. And, and now the way the Knicks are playing today, it's optional. Am I going to watch them? Might, maybe, right? But I'm always pulling for the Knicks. And if I had to choose a team in hockey, it'd be the Islanders, because, of course, we grew up in Long Island, right down the street from Nassau Coliseum, right? Now they have a brand new stadium, and I would love to go to see a game there. But, sports, that was my way of bonding with my dad, too. He was an avid Mets fan. Of course, he comes from the history of the Brooklyn Dodgers. And when the Brooklyn Dodgers left and the San Francisco Giants left, and they formed the Mets, they took the 2 colors from both teams, the blue from the Dodgers, the orange from the New York Giants, now the San Francisco Giants, and they blended together to become the Mets. Not only that, blue and orange is a major color for New York because it was New Amsterdam originally, a Dutch type of situation. And even if you look at Nassau County, right, the colors are blue, orange, and white, right? That was the original Dutch flag. So that's where those colors come from. So you have the Knicks, blue and orange. You have the Islanders, blue and orange. You have the Mets, blue and orange. So it became that kind of consistent. So that became my colors. If you look at my logo, Dr. Phil 2, you'll see it's blue and orange, right? So, that's where we are right now. But yeah, so totally into sports, and, I enjoy it.
Current events wise, we see recently there's some African-American police officers that beat this young man, Tyree Nicholas, and he succumbed to his wounds and unfortunately passed away, and his funeral was, I believe, yesterday. And it's unfortunate. We see a lot of fighting and championing for other races. Let's say for Asian people, we have Asian rights that have had bills passed protect them. Of course, we have other persuasions that have rights that are ultimately protected. But when we come to African Americans, it seems as if we are left by the wayside, and we continually see one example after the other like this. What are your thoughts, and what do you see as something we could do is to make some progress?
Yeah, it's about holding everyone accountable. First of all, you got to go out there and vote. That's the first step. That's the easy step, right? To go out there and vote, because a lot of our leaders of, your sheriff, right? Your judges, all come from your votes, your local votes, and your local leaders to hold these systems accountable. But if you're not voting in the right people, and you're constantly letting the system be what the system is, then you're not going to see too much change. So first, the one thing you can do without even protesting, you don't even have to protest to vote. You just go fill out a paper and you turn it in. You take some moments out of your day and you show up to the voting poll, and forget what you think about voting rights and all of that stuff. Just go out and do it. Show up in numbers. Show that you care. That's the first thing. Second thing is, you just got to hold people accountable. You got to teach people, unfortunately, you have to teach young men how to act. Now, in this case, what could you have told Tyree to do differently if he's being targeted, right? What could you do differently for this young man to tell him what to do different in his life, in his situation? Sometimes, you are just become that casualty of a really bad mindset among police officers. Now, I've served as a chaplain for police officers. I've served on the advisory board, and I've prayed over police. So I already know not all of them think like that, but there are some that, just like in any industry, there are some that pass through. So really, what has to happen is, we have to hold our systems accountable as a community. And, we just keep praying that something is different through the vetting process, through the hiring process, because it starts really in the root of it all. How are we vetting people? How are we, what is the process of hire? Are they so desperate to hire people that anybody goes? What is the mental anguish that they have to deal with on a consistent basis? So I think that, first, it's who you allow to get in office, because that's the person that's holding everybody else accountable. And if you really don't have a good system of accountability, it's not going to happen. And, we still have a voice. We still have a voice in our schools. We still have a voice amongst our community leaders, our congressmen, our council people, our district leaders, right? Our district leaders. We all have that ability to make an impact in the people that we serve and the people that we get with. You know what I'm saying? So, that's a key factor there.
Phil, my fellow Nassau County friend, I definitely thank you for educating us and sharing with us today on the CJ Cares podcast. Where can listeners find you online?
Well, you can go to Dr. Phil 2, Shaping Your New Start, YouTube. That's where my podcast, Shaping Your New Start Education podcast is. My podcast is on any platform that you find, whether it be the Anchored Voice, helping men to anchor life, whether it be the Mega Voice Live podcast, and my latest Shaping Your New Start Education podcast. I'm also an associate pastor with the Capitol Hill Seventh-day Adventist Church in Washington, D.C. So you can go to their YouTube page. I have a few sermons on there. Our senior pastor is awesome. Our assistant pastor is great. So you can get a word when you get to that, when you get to Capitol Hill. You can follow me on Instagram. That's where all my content goes. Dr. Phil _2, Dr. Phil _2. You can visit my website, drphil2.com. If you are a school, education system, and you need a speaker, come motivate your teachers, your students, your parents. I'm your man, Dr. Phil _2, Dr. Phil 2, shaping your new start. And that's what we believe. I believe everyone needs a new start.
Thank you again, Phil. That was excellent. And I believe that many people will be touched by the words you shared today. And we wish you nothing but more blessings on your ministry, your life, and all your future endeavors.
Yeah, love you, bro. Appreciate being on this show, this platform. Listen, I just pray it continues to grow from here, bro.
Thanks again, man. And we're going to have you back and follow up and, talk about other things, because we are multifaceted men and we have different talents. And I'm sure we're going to continue our collaboration.
For sure. Indeed. Peace,
all right,
everybody.
thanks again.